Rothman Tech-Tips here. I'm with Jason Yates, a trainer from Skillsoft. Jason, thank you for coming on the program today. We're real excited to have you on talking about Windows 10. When did Windows 10 come out?
Well, we skipped 9, didn't we? And the
We
joke
did
is,
9. The funny thing is I had your coworker, MJ Murphy, did a Windows 8 video blog for me maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago,
mhm,
and he was great because he told us all the bad things about Windows 8,
right.
and it all everyone knows about that now, but your buddy MJ was all over it. And next thing you know, we skipped Windows 9 and we're on Windows 10. So how did that happen? What happened to Windows 9 and how did we end up on 10?
Well, I'm not entirely sure what happened to Windows 9. And when you look at what when they ask Microsoft representatives, they don't give you necessarily a straight answer. The joke is 7, 8, 9, that's where it went. But we've got Windows 10, and I think the nice thing about the number 10 is it's a far enough departure from the number 8 that people aren't going to be thinking about. Those people who've used Windows 8 have had that terrible experience with that immersive experience where they aren't quite sure what to do. Windows 10 really takes us back to the core of Windows. And so in many ways, it's redesigned in response to a lot of the marketplace out there and what people were begging for Windows to do from the very beginning. What they call that fundamental experience. We've got that experience back in Windows 10, and I'm actually quite excited about it, Matt, because it's really kind of a mashup of what was good with Windows 8 and what is good with Windows 7. And honestly, I'm actually a fan of Windows 8, and that's in big part because of the touchscreen. I have a touchscreen device. Using Windows 8 on a touchscreen is fantastic. It's fast, it's fluid, it starts up quickly. But there are those applications on Windows 8, and there's using Windows 8 on the desktop when you don't have the start button and you don't know how to shut the thing down. You don't even know where the shutdown button is. Well, they've responded to all that in Windows 10. So some of the bloggers out there call it an audacious release. I'm not quite so sure I'm that convinced it's audacious, but I'm actually excited about it. Yet I'm still tentative as to whether or not they're going to be able to convince users that they need to continue to look at Windows. Because, there's a lot of choices out there now, right? And it's highly competitive when it comes to what am I going to use for my tablet? Extremely competitive. And so Microsoft is trying to step up and compete again.
I love the term you used, mashup. Those in the music world love the term mashup, so I liked how you said that. And you were going with some of the best things from Windows 8, and then they brought back some of the old things from Windows 7. Is that the mashup we're kind of talking about?
Exactly. Keep in mind that if Windows isn't evolving, it runs the risk, of course, of losing new interest and being relevant in the corporate marketplace at the same time. So there's a fine line that Microsoft has to walk. On one hand, they need to be brave. They need to step out and be innovative. They need to reinvent the PC, because if they don't, the PC, as we can see in terms of sales numbers, it's dying. So if Windows cannot adapt to the new type of devices that are out there, then it's going to be doomed. And yet at the same time, we have a huge a corporate base that heavily relies on the PC. We get our mission done. We make our dollars on the PC. So how are we going to sustain a relevant operating system at the same time be innovative? And that's the challenge Microsoft has been struggling with over the last 5 years or so. And I think Windows 10 is another step in the right direction in terms of responding to that. There's some flexibility. You can actually switch between a more Windows 7-like experience versus a more Windows 8-like experience. So if you got a tablet, you can have that touch screen, big tile, big picture kind of look. And if you're Windows 7, you've got that more discrete mouse oriented kind of UI. But at the same time, the internals continue to evolve. I recently read a blog said Windows 10 might just be the first step into getting rid of passwords, and that's because of the multi-factor authentication that's built into it and the security features that are built into it. So it's interesting to see what is going to be, what Windows 10 is going to present to both corporations and to consumers. In fact, do you want to have a look at it? You want to have a quick peek?
Yes. Please, screen share. I'd love to see Windows 10.
So this is what we're talking about here when I say mashup. This is Windows 10. It's in desktop mode. And we've got the start button here. And if you've been following the Windows 8 story, you know that wasn't there originally.
The start window. We didn't have that with Windows 8, and that was a huge, huge problem.
Exactly. So when I click on this, it used to take you to an entirely different place. It used to take you to a screen with a lot of boxes and a lot of activity. And on a tablet PC, you can quickly move and navigate through that. But if you're a desktop user, you weren't quite sure what to do with that. And then if you launched an application, like this one here, it would take over your screen like you can see it doing. But now in Windows 10, you can actually minimize it. And these applications, all of the applications actually are much similar to kind of the traditional Windows type experience. They're windowed. They're not in your way. They don't take you out of the desktop. Notice I'm still in the desktop. And then I can still get in here and switch between my other tasks. Here's what I mean by mashup, Matt. On the left-hand side is that Windows 7 experience, the extreme familiarity that a desktop user will have, especially in a business environment. You've got search, you've got your application menus, and then on the right-hand side, you got that Windows 8-like experience with access to a lot of the new application model that Microsoft presented. So
those are like the tiles look and feel of Windows 8.
Exactly. And really those tiles are an entirely different application model. There's a new set of application interfaces, what they call runtime. They install differently, they uninstall differently, they update differently. And so Microsoft really made them stand out before in Windows 8, but they were so difficult to use. Now you can see that we've got a title bar up here. We've got an application bar up here, so there's actually a little bit more information on the screen so users can intuitively know how to actually get around and multitask. There's also the ability to do virtual desktops. You can have more than one desktop. So if you have a lot of different windows open, you can actually organize them. And this is not a new feature in the sense that you know, there are other operating systems that have virtual desktops. So a lot of people are excited to see some of these new UI characteristics that are found in other operating systems and see them here in Windows 10 as well.
Well, one of the things that I noticed right away, and we keep going back to this mashup, but it's a perfect description, is that those corporate users we talked about earlier that were used to Windows 7, they have a certain way of working and a certain way of using the desktop and having windows open, and it looks like that they can work in an efficient manner in desktop mode in Windows 10.
Yes, and that's what and that's really what this is intended to appeal to. It's really Microsoft's attempt at going back and saying, hey, how is Windows fundamentally used in the corporate environment? We really want users to not lose productivity. You see, going to Windows 8 from a desktop point of view, you know, from a manager's point of view, is expensive because you've got to not only, you know, deploy a brand new operating system, but there's all the training you have to do so that people know how to use this new interface. Windows 10, the curve is much, much tighter. You get the benefits of those core internals, the improved security, the new application model, the mobile device management, the Active Directory integration, the identity integration, all of that core stuff that corporations are looking for. But you also have, right here, you have that productivity experience, you know, this management experience that Windows 7 users are used to. So, you know, if you got somebody who's been working with, you know, PCs for 15, 20 years, but you know how it is. People don't like to change.
Look,
They're creatures of habit.
I've seen coworkers come into the office with a new PC with Windows 8, and it dramatically affected their productivity. They couldn't find things. They didn't understand the tiles. And looking at Windows 10, it looks like, hey, it's the best of both worlds. You have your old ways of doing work in Windows 7, but then you have some tiles there. You kind of have a good mashup of both Windows 7 and Windows 8.
It's going to be kind of a wait and see as to what the future is going to hold. It's in technical preview right now. One of the interesting things is Microsoft, instead of kind of keeping the beta to just a select group of individuals, they actually open it up to everybody. Anybody can actually download Windows 10, start playing around with it on a test computer. you wouldn't want to start using it on a regular machine, right? Because it's still buggy. So you still have, it's still growing as far as the code is concerned. But you can start experiencing the Windows 10 environment, start testing it, start trying to break it, give feedback to Microsoft. So the entire public now has at their fingertips the opportunity to work with the most popular operating system, in history, or at least I should say Microsoft is the one developing a lot of these popular operating systems, this being their latest one. And so I think that's also a statement about what Microsoft is learning. I moan because you'd think they would have learned this from Windows Millennium, which nobody remembers.
I remember that.
And Vista, right? Same kind of thing with Vista. It's this every other operating system. I know Microsoft hates that reputation, but every 2 years, it's a high expectation to expect high adoption of an operating system unless it's really compelling. And then you bring Windows 8, and they were trying to make it compelling, but they lost track of the focus, and that's those core corporate users that make their money on the PC. They lost track of those folks, and it's nice to see them coming back and paying attention to those people as well.
Oh, yeah. And that was one of the things MJ talked about when he did the Windows 8 vlog with me, was that it was so geared towards tablets and mobile devices that they just forgot about their core enterprise desktop users.
Right.
And look, this is, Microsoft is in, all the corporate enterprise environments. People are used to working. Not everyone is in their 20s with tablets. There's some people there, like you said, they've been using PCs for such a long time, and Windows 8 was too drastic of a change. So Windows 10, great. I'm going to thank you so much for getting on here, showing us, showing us that brief demo. Sharing your experience with Windows 10. I know I enjoyed it. I know my viewers enjoyed it, and that was great. So, Jason, you rock, buddy. Thank you for coming on board. I'm probably going to want to have you on when this goes live, to the public, to see how that live version is different from the version that you're using now. So stay tuned, everyone. We're going to have Jason on in a few months when this product is released. But Jason, before I let you go, I have here on the Rothman Tech-Tips what I call the I Don't Cook portion of the vlog. You're in Portland, Oregon. I've never been to Portland, so imagine I'm in Portland for one night, and I need a great place to eat. Where should I go?
All right. Well, Portland is a great food town, and there's a lot of different places. That's a really hard question, but one of my favorite places is Pok Pok. If you like Thai food, and you like not just American Thai food, but street Thai food, Pok Pok is a great place to go.
How do you spell that?
A P-O-K, P-O-K.
Awesome. Okay, and what's your favorite dish there?
I love the Boar's Collar. They take Boar's Collar and they cover it in chili and lime sauce and garlic, and it's really spicy but sweet at the same time. Classic Thai flavors. Perfectly cooked meat. It's fantastic.
Is that boar like wild boar?
Well, yes, exactly.
Pok Pok, a Thai restaurant in Portland, Oregon, and the Boar. Wow. Okay. That is what I Don't Cook is all about right there. Finding that local person to give you the best possible restaurant recommendation in a city you've never been to. This has been an awesome video right here. Not only did we get to see a sneak preview of Windows 10, but then you gave us this great, authentic Thai restaurant in Portland for the I Don't Cook portion. Jason, you knocked this out of the park right here. This video was one of the best that I've done. And this was great. I enjoyed this tremendously. My audience did, and this was just such great value. Jason, thank you so much for coming on the program today.
You bet, Matt. Thanks for having me.
No problem. This is Rothman Tech-Tips.